Phillip Broberg and Dylan Holloway both go back to Edmonton.
Hey, this is Brayden Chen.
Subscribe to Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Broberg and Holloway are back in Edmonton. Yes, the Blues are taking on those Oilers tonight. The team has been impressive. And of course, are we feeling blue? I know I tricked you a little bit with that intro, but it is factual statements that the guys are back in Edmonton, and both of them spoke on the impact that Edmonton had on them. So I will get into that. We have a busy episode today, a fun episode today, but I want to let you know that you can start this season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. I hope everybody has had a great day. It's a late puck drop tonight at 9 o'clock. However, I am definitely looking forward to this one. Now, I want to touch really fast on something. I will talk about the Blues and the Flames game, that 4-3 OT win. Life, as you know, I've told you in the previous episode, a lot of personal things this week. So that's why we're getting an episode on Saturday. So it's still going to be the Are We Feeling Blue Friday segment that we do. Just to clarify, but let's talk about what you care about the most. And that is Phillip Broberg and Dylan Holloway. This summer, one of the craziest things that happened was the offer sheets, okay? Where the Blues offered both Phillip Broberg and Dylan Holloway offer sheets, which then resulted in them coming to here in St. Louis. Now, listen, they mean a lot to a lot of us, right? Like, we kind of all maybe came to the consensus that these are two really good players. I know that Broberg has been hurt. However, I do think that we've seen a lot of good things out of him, especially early on. He had a point streak, I believe, going. And then Holloway, of course, has really excelled and exceeded my expectations at least. But here's the thing. When it comes to them being reunited maybe with the Edmonton crowd, they are both ready for that. And I think that's what makes this even more exciting, is that anticipation of how the crowd is going to react to both of the players making their return. Now, do I think they're going to get boos? I don't necessarily know. But I do think that, you know what, maybe some boos, but I don't think that they did anything to deserve that, right? Holloway did talk, and he said it was definitely tough leaving. We went so far as a team, and I just want to take you back. This is not what he said. They did lose in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals, okay? So they went as far as you can go without winning the whole thing. So he went on and said, we went so far as a team. We were 2 shots away from winning the Stanley Cup. So you end up getting tight with a lot of the guys, a lot of the staff, and it was such an incredible run. And we went on, and it was definitely tough leaving. But with that being said, I've been really happy with my situation here in St. Louis and been getting some great opportunities. The coaches, the teammates, everyone's been great. So that to me gives me reassurance that they're happy here. And listen, of course, Edmonton, especially for Holloway, probably was a destination that they were ecstatic to be at. I am not denying that. The Oilers, great team. They have McDavid, who is one of the best players in the NHL currently right now. However, at the end of the day, they're here in St. Louis now. And, Phillip Broberg even said, I've got nothing but love for the fans and the people of Edmonton. and it's going all over social media. People are saying, "Oh, should we cheer? Should we not cheer for them?" They want them to boo at them tonight. Like, it's really insane, the reaction that I am seeing online. Now, as a Blues fan, and as somebody that talks about the Blues every single day, watches every game, anything possible, if a team stole with offer sheets, I'm trying to think of an equivalent type of players. The Blues don't really have any defensemen that I could say is like a Broberg, but let's go say maybe a Holloway. Let's go say somebody took Jordan Kyrou with an offer sheet, right? And he came back, he would be booed. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like it's not booing the player, it's booing the organization that did it. Offer sheets are so rare and they don't happen often, which is why, at least in my head, I could maybe understand them booing so that way Doug Armstrong hears it, right? And not necessarily we're booing Holloway specifically. We're booing Broberg specifically. Now, with Holloway, I can understand a little bit more because he was a very vocal that he was not satisfied with what he was getting offered in Edmonton, pay wise. Even, you know what? Actually, both of them, because even Broberg too. Yeah, I could understand the fans booing them for that reason, actually. That makes it justified. But if you're an Edmonton fan and you're watching this, I am curious. Do you feel like it's justified to boo Holloway and Broberg? And if so, let me know why. If not, let me know why. I can see both sides. I don't think they should be getting cheered for. I don't think that should happen. I don't think a video tribute should happen. I don't think they made that big of an impact in the organization as a whole to get that kind of treatment. And I'm not trying to sound harsh, but I mean, they're still young. And while there was a great accomplishment going to the Stanley Cup Finals, it's not like they're McDavid or Draisaitl. Like, they're not those guys, which is why, for me at least, it's hard for me to justify that. But, however, I can understand maybe you have some emotion of, oh, well, this is a revenge game. You know, people can look at these two players and they could easily say they just wanted a bigger paycheck. I think there's some truth that they wanted maybe money that they weren't going to get in Edmonton. I also think that, at least in Holloway's case, he got better opportunity. I mean, you think about him, game one, they had him on the first line. But I think that Edmonton is going to have type of a revenge game. Now, again, I understand that these were two players that didn't make the biggest impact in Oil Nation, but they were supposed to be the driving force of the future of the team with some of the other young prospects that they had. So I can understand the frustration. I can understand the annoyance, because shouldn't these guys want to play with the Oilers and not necessarily worry about how much money they're going to make? Sure. And I can understand you thinking that way. I'm not denying it. However, at the end of the day, money talks, opportunities talk, and that's where they were getting here in St. Louis. Overpaid, which I can acknowledge, overpaid. So more money and better opportunity. You have and I'm going to go over the lines for the game, but I mean, like, you have these guys playing in much higher roles than you would ever have them playing in Edmonton. And that's because the Oilers have more veteran talent. They do. Plain and simple. So I'm going to talk more about the game coming up, how I've been impressed with this team. But first, I want to talk to you about my friends over at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Tomorrow we have a big slate of NFL games, and I actually just use my FanDuel account now for some college football bets. So definitely love the app. I love that I can make my bets, my same game parlays as they're going on. It is awesome. So check out FanDuel. The Blues had a 4-3 OT win against the Calgary Flames. And I know what you're thinking. Haley, how do you really feel about this one? Well, I can tell you I was tired because it was a late night game for me at least. However, I am happy this team did find a way to win. I mean, the Blues did have a 2-goal lead, but it really wasn't for long. Bolduc scores a power play goal, which again is something that I'm proud of this team for doing because I know that the power play, and I know Bushi said this before, it wasn't their strongest suit. However, they have been doing better at it. So he scores, Robert Thomas scores. It's like music to my ears. And then less than a minute later, Calgary scores. They tie up the game, the Flames, in the second period. Third period, Bushi's back in the lineup. Well, he's back scoring. That is right. Bushi gives the Blues a 3-2 lead. Unfortunately, a minute later, Flames score again. But an OT, Colton Parayko got the puck behind the net and gave the Blues a win halfway through OT, which honestly for me was quite nice because I was so tired. But this team finds a way to win, which is why I am actually impressed with this team. You know, the Flames are not a bad team. I told you how they had that 3-0 shutout win against the Columbus Blue Jackets, but yet the Blues were able to, come back from a deficit in a sense. I know the Flames never had a lead in the game. However, that does take the Blues' momentum away when every time they get ahead, Calgary ends up scoring a minute later. So for me, in a sense, that meant something. Now, I know what you're thinking. Haley, the Blues, they can't be giving up, goals and points. Blah, blah. I understand the frustration with the defense at times. I do. However, the offense has been stepping up and they have been impressive. So I am happy about that. And by the way, since Coach Montgomery has been here, the Blues haven't lost on the road. Like, I'm not trying to jinx anything for tonight's game. I'm just saying that Coach knows what he's doing. And that to me says a lot. So I want to talk about tonight's game because it is the Blues and the Oilers. And I know I could talk about, the Flames and the point streak and all of that because, again, Binner said it best. I think everyone just gave their best effort. I could talk about that. But I am excited to talk about the lineup for tonight. So here is tonight's projected lineup, by the way. And then I'll explain a little bit more after that. On the first line, we have Robert Thomas centering on the left, Jakey Neighbors, and on the right, Bushi. Doesn't that sound so good? It feels like normal again. Then on the second line, we have Captain Braden Shen on the left, Dylan Holloway on the right, Jordan Kyrou. On the third, it is Sonny centering, Saad to the left, and Zachary Bolduc on the right. Finally, on that fourth line, we have Foxa centering Alexi on the left and Nathan Walker, the Aussie, on the right. Now let's talk about defense. Phillip Broberg with Colton Parayko, Ryan Suter with Matthew Kessel, Scott Perunovich with Justin Folk. So, and in net, it is Binner, by the way. Anyways, Folk is back in the lineup, so P.O. Joseph is out. And Folk did say, I feel good. Better than I have the last few days. I'm hoping to jump back in and get going tonight. Coach said he brings experienced leadership. He's firm. He's hard. He takes away time and space and is 200-foot defenseman for us. So all is good. This team is in search of their third straight win. So hoping they get the job done. But I also am just so optimistic, right, about the game tonight. Because let's say it for how it is. Edmonton hasn't had the best season. They're 14-10-2. They did have a 6-3 win over the Columbus Blue Jackets on Thursday night. But they did lose a lot of players from last year's team. However, here's the thing. Morning Skate Friday, their coach said, with the offer sheet, you never want to lose players, especially young players that are NHL players, and that can help you not only short term, but long term. But on the flip side of it, you look at what it's doing that forced us to do. And we had a couple of replacements specifically. So they were talking about Ty Emerson and some other players like that. And we're extremely happy with them. And we love what they're doing for this team. So I get it. However, it's one of those situations where it's like, I think they could have benefited more from having Holloway and Broberg, but I don't necessarily think the Oilers are a bad team. I just think that it's a slower start to the season for them. Connor McDavid did have 4 assists in Thursday night's game against the Columbus Blue Jackets. And he also earned 1,000 career points in 668 games. So, which is really impressive. But right now he's a total of 1,017 points. So it just goes to show how good of a player he is. The Blues have earned points in 4 straight games against Edmonton, 3-1, and they're 5-1-2 in their last 8 games against the Oilers. Now, Coach Montgomery is the second head coach in franchise history to start his tenure with a point streak of 5+, 4-0-1. And Ken Hitchcock actually had 6 games in 2011. Since Coach was hired, first game on the 25th, the Blues 4 wins and 9 points each, share the most in the NHL in that span. The Blues also have 4 overtime wins this season, which shares the second in the NHL with Edmonton, actually, at number 1 with 5. So Robert Thomas had back-to-back multi-point games. And so it's going really well for the Blues right now. They're definitely on a hot streak, which gets me excited about tonight. I don't necessarily think tonight's game is going to be a blowout for either team. I don't like to give score predictions because I'm usually not right or I'm off by a goal. But I could see tonight being a high-scoring game. I don't think Edmonton has the best defense. I don't think the Blues have the best defense. I think this is going to be an offense-heavy game. So I'm going to say the Blues are going to win, but I say 5-4 overtime. I think this game's going to go to extra minutes tonight. Just the pattern of these two teams and just the competitive nature, I do think it's going to head to overtime tonight. But this is a game, again, Jordan Binnington is, we all know he's my favorite player, one of my favorite players. And this is going to be a great, challenge for him tonight, especially with Connor McDavid. And it's going to test him, and I love that. And especially with the Four Nation face-offs coming. I know they're going to be teammates, but right now they're going to be battling against each other. I just want to let you all know to subscribe to Locked On Blues here on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. I come out with daily episodes 5 days a week talking all things about the St. Louis Blues. We talk games, we talk trade deadline, we talk prospects. There's so much going on. I have a ton of cool guests lined up, a lot of prospect talk actually very soon, just because I want to get you familiar with some names that are developing in Springfield, some names that are going to be available at the draft. And I think that and last year I was actually at the draft and I was able to interview Adam Juracek. But I think getting a little bit familiar with maybe some of the future players or potential draft prospects makes it even better when those prospects do get drafted here to the Blues. I did have Juracek. I talked about him a lot last year, and I wanted him for St. Louis. So when that happened, I was like, whoa, this is really cool because you already knew about him based off of what I told you. So I am personally really excited to just continue my prospect talk here in Locked On Blues. But anyways, let's do an Are We Feeling Blue Friday. Was this a good week or a bad week for the St. Louis Blues? I'm going to be biased because I feel like I've been saying like in the middle, like I haven't been really saying much positivity. However, I do feel like this was a good week for the Blues. Last Saturday, they had an OT loss to the Flyers, and then they went out on their Western Canada road trip, defeated the Jets, defeated the Flames, ready to take on the Oilers. You've Bushi back in, Justin Foltz back in. Like, you have nothing but good vibes here. So this is before the game. So if you're watching this after the game and you're like, oh my God, they lost. Okay. And that's always a possibility. But I just feel like this team has just been so dominant. They've been point hungry. And I know I haven't talked to you about the standings in quite a while. 28 points now. Same amount of points as the Avalanche, except the Avalanche are 14, 13, and 0. The Blues are 13, 12, and 2, which is why that's the difference. But I mean, they are chipping away, okay? The Stars are at 32 points. However, the Jets and Wild both have 40 points. And the Wild, yes, they are leading the Central Division. It is actually insane right now how well the Wild are doing. They're actually the best team in the NHL. So I guess Seth on Locked On Wild is having a great time. But you know what? We're having fun and we're climbing up this ladder. And just to let you know, Utah is right behind us with 26 points. The Predators have 20 points. And then the Blackhawks, they have 66 points. That doesn't make sense. Oh, no. Oh, wait. Why did I do that? They have 20 points. The Blackhawks have 18 points. Do you see how, like, delulu I am? 66 points. I'm like, Haley, what? That was a moment. But yes, anyways, a lot going well for the Blues. So I will talk to you tomorrow and let's get that win in Edmonton tonight. I will see you all and let's go Blues.